Fox Sports.
We are the Fourth. We are Florida.
On a Friday night, a little weekend of baseball, interleague fashion. White Sox have never been here, but Chicago is here for three. The Marlins and the White Sox in a three-game set. Here's what's at stake going into the weekend for the Fish. Yes, they still have a hold of that #2 wild card spot. The Cardinals lost again today to the Cubs. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz on with Jeff Conine. Welcome to Miami. Hey, it's the novel thing. White Sox haven't been here. Todd Frazier's a White Sox, all of that. But you know what? For Miami, it's all about the chase in the wild card and the chase in the East, no matter whom they're playing.
Doesn't matter who they're playing right now. The good thing is they're scoreboard watching, and they're in the wild card race right now. St. Louis, I think it's going to be bunched up through the month of September. St. Louis is going to get healthy. They're going to get a little better. I think the Marlins have a better baseball ahead of them.
And so the Marlins have to get acquainted to these White Sox players. One guy they know a lot about because they scouted and almost drafted him out of North Carolina State, the starting pitcher for the White Sox, big lefty, Carlos Rodon.
Big lefty, big arm, hit 100 miles an hour on the gun last decision against Orioles, or got a no decision. 0-4 in his last 9 starts, so got good potential. He got big radar gun numbers, but we'll see how he pitches tonight.
For Miami, a guy who really is a key down the stretch in August and September. That's why the Marlins traded for him. Andrew Cashner, and the wheels kind of came off for him in the 6th inning after a nice 5-inning start in Colorado.
Yeah, the deadline deal with the San Diego Padres. Andrew Cashner comes over. Nice start, first time out against St. Louis. 6 innings, only 1 earned run, but tough gig out there in Colorado. You never know what's going to happen there at Coors Field. Gave up 7 earned runs.
Okay, so you've got the Fish, you've got the White Sox. As well, you've got a Marlins rotation in a bit of flux. Remember, one more skip date for Jose Fernandez? Well, that's coming up. Tom Kohler's going to get the ball on Sunday. Jose will be skipped, and we'll straighten it all out when we return to Miami. Miami Marlins baseball. Jose Fernandez, White Sox Marlins. He happens to be the subject of Craig Minervini's look at the rotation. Craig?
He's a little loosey-goosey, but what else is new, even on his start days? Thanks, Rich. Hi again, everybody. Yes, the Marlins have made a change. What we originally had heard that he would pitch on Sunday, but that was more of a technical matter because the Marlins actually had planned this out even in spring training, his exact schedule. So we look at the series probable. Rodon, Cashner tonight, Shields, Conley tomorrow. The change, the ace sail for Chicago, but Tom Kohler will go in Fernandez's place on Sunday. Part of this maintenance to keep down his innings and his starts, so if needed, Jose can pitch through the playoffs, and what the Marlins hope is the World Series. His thoughts today.
Obviously the biggest, we honestly care about, the playoffs and, getting there, and then hopefully have me there, ready to go. So I think that, we've been following the plan just the way that everybody knows that it is, and this has been set since spring training.
Really nothing to explain. It's just been there from the beginning. We thought we playing 2 skips and then, one of the last guys out of the All-Star break. All part of, keeping his innings in a range.
And if all things go well, this will be the last skip for Jose Fernandez. He will not even pitch in the Cincinnati series, but next Friday against Pittsburgh. As Don Mattingly said, we're going to pick the toughest road against the toughest opponents for Jose, and they certainly have matched it up looking down the line to face key East opponents, and also to have him set at the end of the season, where if you need him last game of the year or that wild card game, that you have him there too. There might be a little jockeying, but pretty much it's set to go that far. Marlins are looking ahead, and by doing so, won't have some issues. You've seen some distractive issues with some other pitchers who've gone through Tommy John in recent years. All right, the White Sox are here. Who? The Chicago White Sox, their second ever visit to South Florida. Rich and Jeff with the call next on Fox Sports Florida.
As the Marlins take aim at the White Sox. First of 3, the White Sox Lost last night to Kansas City 2-1. Chicago 54-60. And here's their lineup, brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine.
Adam Eaton leads off in right field. Tyler Saladino, Melky Cabrera, the top three. Jose Abreu, the big rookie. Todd Frazier having an outstanding home run season. J.B. Shuck, Tim Anderson, Omar Narvaez, and Carlos Rodon in the ninth spot.
And so start number 3 for Andrew Cashner. His first was really good. His second was really good until he ran into the Rockies in the 6th inning, and he couldn't get out of that 6th. And at a 3-1 lead, by the time he left, he had given up 7 total runs. And the Marlins ended up losing that game 12-6. So, although he was a Chicago Cub, he faced the White Sox a few times in relief. Adam Eaton, speedy guy, lots of triples, leads it off for the White Sox. He takes outside.
Well, when you talk about Coors Field, Rich, and how many games you broadcast there and how many games I've played there, how many times have you seen that one blow-up inning for a starting pitcher that really ruins a start?
Well, the Marlins obviously counting on him. It's the reason they traded for him. And in the absence of Wei-Yin Chen, whom the Marlins hope are back in early September, Cashner is a key guy. Fastball misses in to Eaton. Eaton in his 3rd year with the White Sox. Marlins first saw him in Arizona. And that one fouled back and out of play. Eaton, a lot of speed. This is a guy that will do some damage on the bases. He leads the American League in triples right now.
Big offensive or defensive year as well for Eaton, leading in outfield assists. He's got 16 outfield assists already.
And if you're into defensive runs saved, DRS, he's tops in all of baseball. 22 defensive runs saved. Brandon Crawford, we just saw the Giants shortstop. He is second, and Eaton fouls it back out of play. And of course, Robin Ventura is the skipper of these White Sox. In his 5th year, longtime major leaguer, 16 years. 3-2 up the middle. Eaton's aboard. And the White Sox have Eaton in the leadoff single. Marlins defensively, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Outfield's intact to start this series. Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton, Prado, and Miguel Rojas getting a start at first. D. Gordon and Danny Echeverria up the middle. JT Realmuto behind the plates. Don Mattingly giving the signs. Of course, the Marlins dropped 2 of 3 to the Giants to open up this homestand. Cashner with a fastball. Saladino, not sure if he pulled back or not. There's discussion at the plate. And now an appeal down to first and no swing. Saladino in the 2 spot, playing second base for the White Sox. Eaton has 12 bags this year.
You mentioned the speed. 12 bags has been caught 4 times. The Chicago White Sox as a whole about middle of the pack in the American League as far as stolen bases are concerned. 52 on the year. A high percentage of caught stealing, though. 27 times they've been caught stealing.
Drive left center, hit well, and Ozuna's not going to get it. It bounces up and out of play, and that's a break for Miami. Eaton would have scored well before Ozuna even collected the thing, and he's got to go back to third. And Tyler Saladino, who'd been slumping of late, blasts a double to left center. He'd gone 3 for 21 before that double.
This location here, as you can see, JT Realmuto set him the outside part of the plate. That was up in the zone and right down the middle. And like you said, Rich, the Marlins catch a break here. Hopefully be able to limit some damage. Now, D. Gordon's calling a little meeting here, defensive meeting out on the mound.
Well, you got Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu, and Todd Frazier. Definitely the meat of the White Sox order. This is really rare. And now, as the home plate umpire Jerry Lane arrives, he'll join the discussion about what, I'm not sure. It's odd that you would get everybody on the infield and the catcher and the pitcher on the mound with the number 3 hitter at the plate. The Marlins may be looking to see if Adam Eaton missed second base or not. You saw Tim Wallach on the phone to the replay room. And that may have been the discussion between Gordon and everybody on the mound. All right, it's not that. Marlins are going to appeal. And what they're appealing, I'm not sure, because we just saw the replay and it looked like he stepped right on top of the bag. Oh well, better safe than sorry. It doesn't cost you anything to appeal these days. And here's Melky Cabrera. And Cashner needs to do some pitching, and he needs to do it quickly here. Cabrera having a nice season. You see the slugging percentage. He's been able to do some damage along with that .301 average. Good changeup, and it counts 1-1.
Yeah, Cabrera leading the White Sox with a .301 average as far as their starting lineup is concerned tonight. Over the last 7 games, not hitting all that well, .226, but when you look at the last 30 games, got a .312 clip.
Infield is back, and a shot to right. That's a hit. Charging is Stanton. They'll hold the runner at third. 1 run is across. The throw is cut, and the White Sox have come out swinging here. The 4 a.m. arrival of the Chicago White Sox doesn't seem to be bothering them here in the first inning.
Yeah, you look at location again. JT Realmuto set up on the inside part of the plate. Inside black that goes right over the middle and elevated again. That's a bad spot to be missing to major league hitters, and they are not missing them right now.
Now you've got a big right-handed bat in Jose Abreu and a home run threat in Frazier on deck, and still nobody out. 3 hits, and they've all been hit well. Abreu, the 29-year-old, is a Cuban slugger. His son is in the house from Cuba and getting a chance to see him play in the major leagues for the first time tonight.
Wow. In the Abreu, talk about a couple of years when he first came up from Cuba. Huge impact on the Chicago White Sox lineup and some serious offensive production. 36 home runs. His first time up, 100+ RBIs in both of his first 2 seasons. And hot right now. 7 games, the last 7 games, he's hitting a .419 clip.
And he drills that one into center field. And this looks like a continuation from Coors Field right now for Cashner. 4 straight hits. 2 runs across, and Juan Nieves is in a full sprint out to the mound.
And this is the pitch that's been missing that location, is the fastball. Saw him throw a couple good breaking balls to Abreu early in the count, swung and missed on one of them. But that's just an elevated fastball. When you elevate your fastball in the strike zone, it doesn't matter how poorly a team might be hitting at the time, they can square those up.
The last 10 hitters that Andrew Cashner has faced, 9 have hits. The other is a walk. And here's Frazier, who's popped 31 homers, second best in all of baseball. Only Mark Trumbo of the Orioles is above him at 32. Frazier at 31. Edwin Encarnacion of the Jays at 31 as well.
And with his 31 home runs, it's been an all or nothing type year for Todd Frazier. Sitting at a .210 average right now, only .295 on base. And he's only had 3 home runs in his last 15 games. Batting .196.
An Olympic-like toss here for Frazier. They're still waiting on the measurements. Get the little guy with the measuring tape that runs out there.
It's got there in the dirt, the mark in the dirt right there, mark it out.
Little flag.
I'm going to say that was about 112 feet.
There's the matchup. 4 for 8 is Frazier. Of course, these two dueling in the National League when Cashner was a Padre, Frazier was a Red. He swings and misses at a slider. So Cashner stops that run. He gets an out, a much needed one here in the first. And that brings up J.B. Shuck, the Ohio State Buckeye. Shuck, a guy that bounced around in different organizations. Houston, he was drafted by the Astros, Angels, Indians, and now has found a home with the White Sox. He homered on Wednesday night in Kansas City. But he's been slumping as well. There's some cold hitters. You mentioned Abreu, and now he's been swinging it.
Yeah, Shuck just hitting .135, 7 for 52 in his last 15 games. But I don't like that, Rich, when you start talking about hitter after hitter after hitter having bad stretches the last 7 to 10 games. That means eventually they're going to come out of it, and they have definitely come out of it in the first inning here tonight.
Well, 3-0 now. And concern in Miami's dugout. And Cashner misses away. So the location's not there. Command an issue early. 4 hits, a strikeout, and a walk. And a lot of pitches expended here in the first inning, and I don't think the Marlins are going to have much patience, and it looks like Juan Nieves is on the horn right now. Bags loaded, and the young shortstop of the White Sox, Tim Anderson. Infield looks for 2. Echeverria and Gordon up the middle. Anderson swings and misses. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the 17th overall pick back in 2013. #1 prospect of the White Sox going into this season. Had a big year last year in Double-A. Led the Southern League in runs and stolen bases. Good job by Real Muto. Marlins do have a few candidates down there as long men. One would be Chris Narveson. And there he is, starting to loosen up. Cashner, though, is 1 and 2 on Anderson. You got the 8-hitter on deck.
It's a little different this time of year, Rich, when you're looking at mid-August and the Marlins are sitting atop that second wild card spot right now in the standings in the National League. Don Mattingly is going to have a little bit shorter leash than he would probably earlier in the season. It's all about getting wins right now. As far as the Fish are concerned, you see St. Louis just a game behind, even in the win column, and Pittsburgh lurking 2 games back. Just having a difficult time finding that release point.
2-2. Omar Narvaez, White Sox catcher. 2-2 pitch. Fastball fouled off. 96 on the fastball, but right now it's command and the ability to miss bats.
Good location on that fastball down and away. We've seen Cashner miss badly on location. The 4 hits he's given up in this inning just by himself.
Two. Up the middle, should be 2. Gordon's turn in time. And a wobbly first inning by Andrew Cashner is limited to just the 2 runs. Marcell Ozuna with tonight's Miami lineup.
La alineación de los Miami Marlins. Primer bate, jugando en la segunda base, D. Gordon. Segundo bate, jugando en la tercera base, Martín Prado. Tercer bate, jugando en left field, Christian Yelich. Cuarto bate, jugando en right field, Giancarlo Stanton. Quinto bate, jugando en la posición central, Marcell Ozuna. Sexto bate, quechando, JT Realmuto. Primera base, Miguel Rojas. Shortstop, Adeiny Echevarría. And the pitcher, Andrew Cashner.
Marcell Ozuna out of Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Now Miami will try to get some of those runs back. Carlos Rodon, 6'3", 235-pounder out of Holly Springs, Arkansas. North Carolina State in the 3rd overall pick just 2 years ago in 2014. D. Gordon leads it off, and a fastball misses in to Gordon.
Very quick trip through the minor leagues for Carlos Rodon. Like you said, 2014 #1 pick by the Chicago White Sox. Spent a little bit of time in the minor leagues early last year in 2015, but ended up making 23 starts for the big league club and 16 quality starts.
Gordon dribbles it up the first baseline, foul. Gordon's average sits at 282. The on base is rising, 338. Would like to get that up into the 350, 360, 370 range. Two-one, spanked into center field. That's a base hit.
That'll help. That helps the on base.
It will. White Sox defensively. That, of course, is brought to you by Southwest. Melky Cabrera, J.B. Shuck, Adam Eaton. Both Eaton and Cabrera have a lot of assists in the corner outfield spots. Todd Frazier, Jose Abreu on the corners. Tim Anderson, Tyler Saladino up the middle, and Omar Narvaez behind home plate. White Sox in the lower 3rd of the American League in fielding percentage. And here is Prado, who takes outside. Prado continues an outstanding 2016 campaign. You see the OPS at 807. That 321 average, been in the top 10 for a long time. He and Christian Yelich are slotted 6th and 7th in the National League charts. Daniel Murphy topped the list. Barry Bonds quite pleased with the bats so far in 2016.
Talk about those good arms in the outfield there for Chicago White Sox. As we said before, Adam Eaton leading the league with 16 assists, 4 above Colby Rasmus on 12, and Melky Cabrera is sitting 5th in the American League in assists at 9. So between them, 25 assists. Pretty impressive for one outfield.
Martin Prado takes down low. A lot of numbers for Prado are good in this matchup. Here with 2 strikes, he's one of the best in the National League at 290. And against lefties, he is the best by a huge margin. 438 against lefties. Ryan Braun at 365 is second. Gordon runs, good jump. Prado swings, fly ball left field. Melky Cabrera to the track, squares up and makes the catch. And Gordon has to retreat to third. One out. Here comes Yelich. AutoNation brings you a closer look at Carlos Rodon.
Yeah, like we said last time out, hit 100 miles an hour on the gun, so he's got a big arm. Cuban American with Miami roots, born in Miami, high school and college in North Carolina and NC State, shooting trees. Rodon and Trey Turner, NC State's first 3-time All-Americans. And fastball slider change, big arm like we said, good fastball tonight. 91 to 93 so far we've seen. I'm curious to see what kind of gun they had in that 100-mile-an-hour. Might have been the kilometer gun.
It was not a Canadian start. You see Yelich's numbers. Top 10 on base and in batting average. Count 0-2. Yelich a 393 clip on base. The average in the National League is a 321 on base. That's the average player in the National League.
Look at what Rodon does.
Gordon runs, and he's got the bag easily. Late throw from Narvaez. And stolen base number 13 for D. Gordon.
Narvaez has a bit a challenge getting a grip here on this pitch. And if you hesitate at all with D. Gordon on the base paths, you are not going to get him. You see he slides in there easily for a stolen base.
Breaking ball, and Yelich takes it for strike 3 called, and that slider is the plus pitch for Carlos Rodon.
Look at what he does against lefties in general in the American League this year. 207 batting average. And this is part of the reason why. Nasty slider here, freezes Christian Yelich for strike 3 right down the middle. Righty's hitting 313 this year against Rodon.
Well, here's Stanton. If the Marlins can chip away here, Stanton takes a changeup that misses out. That slugging percentage climbing closer to 500. Stanton usually lives in the mid to upper 500s. Sitting on 24 homers. And a strike.
94 on the gun there. Narvaez couldn't find the handle on it, but good pitch. Splits the inside corner. We found over the course of the year that Teams are really throwing Giancarlo Stanton in. They'll show him in a lot, and then right-handers will throw that breaking ball away, but lefties have been pounding him in for the most part.
That slider got away from Rodon. That's 2-1. Marlins, of course, did not fare well against the Giants on Wednesday. Were shut out, had just 5 hits. Stanton had that day off. Did appear as a pinch hitter. The hitting hero on Wednesday was Ichiro with 2 hits, including a double. 3-1 count. Let's see if the big guy gets something to swing at. Tried to shoot it to right.
Good pitch on the outside corner. Fifth pitch you see there. Good strike on the outside corner. See if he comes back with something the big man can handle.
Nope. 96, and Rodon shouts as he strikes out Stanton. 2-0 White Sox.
Español vía SAP por West Kendall Toyota.
White Sox, Marlins. In Miami tonight, it's the first of 3 interleague play. And the White Sox jumped on Andrew Cashner for 2 runs in the first on 4 hits and a walk. Now Cashner goes to work on Omar Narvaez. The White Sox catcher, Carlos Rodon, and Adam Eaton, 8, 9, and 1. Deoner Navarro, the regular everyday catcher for the White Sox, caught last night. As we noted, the White Sox got in about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And Narvaez is on a nice little run. He's hit safely in each of his first 6 major league games. Of course, no one's talking about him. Everybody's talking about David Dahl, the Colorado Rockies. Dahl equaling that major league record of 17 straight. Marlins saw Dahl when he was around 9, 10, 11. And last night in Texas, he stretched it to 17. Longest hit streak to begin a career. Well, that's a leadoff walk to the 8-hitter with the pitcher coming up. T-Mobile, greater coverage of baseball. Matt Caesar, all hail. How about the Cubs? 13-2 in beating the Cardinals today. There you go. David Dahl's in there. Ties that 75-year-old record. Number 2 on that list, Juan Pierre, 16 games when he was a Rocky as well. And Matt Holliday hit on the thumb last night in that game against the Cubs. It's a fracture, and he's on the disabled list. Rodon pops it up. That's an easy play for Real Muto. American League pitchers, especially a guy like Rodon that's only been in the league for a year and a half, not real skilled at bunting. But he's got family here, that's for sure. His dad was born in Cuba, then came to Miami. His dad was a great wrestler. Athletic family.
Like real wrestling or the Craig Minervini wrestling? Sorry, Craig DeGeorge wrestling.
I believe real wrestling.
Oh, real wrestling.
Yes, like we're watching in the Olympics.
It was interesting. My dad's a real wrestler. He wrestled in the Olympics in 1964, and he actually liked the other wrestling. I was a little bit surprised about that.
Was he ever offered to cross over?
No, he was not.
As Eaton is up. How are your dad's ears, by the way?
They're a little bit like a vegetable that we like to call cauliflower. Not as bad as some, but definitely see some damage there.
Narvaez, the runner at first. Cashner from the stretch. Well, the ball strike ratio is almost 50-50 right now.
Yeah, struggling with control. Location has been a problem so far early in this game. 4 hits in the first inning. All hit very hard. And you can tell he's just struggling to find that release point to get his pitches where he wants them to go.
Now remember, Cashner had his regular throw day interrupted by that relief appearance on Monday. Bouncer into right field. That's a hit. Narvaez around second. He'll hold there. Stanton got to it quickly. Marlins were in that 14-inning game with the Giants and essentially ran out of arms in the pen with A.J. Ramos unavailable. And Cashner warmed up, came in and threw 2 pitches. Gave up a single to Brandon Crawford. An inherited run scored. And that was it, 2 pitches, but he did heat up.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing the camera shot of the bullpen. He was there all by himself. There was no one left in the Marlins pen other than Andrew Cashner on that 14-inning game.
Although, as we discovered, Joe Cole was down there, the security guard, who is a fast pitch softball American. So that was the decision. You go with Joe Cole or Andrew Cashner.
Signed a quick contract there.
That's right.
Under
1-0. Up the middle and into center field. That's a hit. Narvaez around third. Eaton's going to get to third. The throw is cut, and the White Sox score again. Tyler Saladino has his 2nd hit. Still only 1 out.
Another mislocation here. You see JT Realmuto wanting this pitch in the outside part of the plate. Look at where it ends up, right down the middle. Good hitting there by Saladino, using that middle of the ballpark. And the struggles continue for Andrew Cashner. 6 hits now in the first inning and 1/3.
Well, now you're back into the big bats. Melky Cabrera RBI single. Jose Abreu RBI single. And Todd Frazier after that. Cashner struck him out in the first inning. Marlins are going to appeal second base. They didn't do it correctly. Cashner's got to get to the stretch with the hitter in the box. It's the second time the Marlins have appealed second base. And they'll say safe. Now, if the Marlins feel he missed it, that's a reviewable and a challengeable play. But you have to appeal first.
They're going to take a look at it, Rich.
And the Marlins are going to take a look at it. Well, the runner is Adam Eaton. He's at third. Eaton has Mattingly has to identify the runner and the base.
Go. Because they got to appeal first.
Let's see. It looks like he missed it.
It looks like he missed it.
Now, is that conclusive? Are you 100% sure that that left toe didn't get there? Because that's the key here, is the call on the appeal, and that's why you have to appeal before the challenge. You have to have a call to base the replay on, whether it's safe or out, and then you go from overturned stance or. Right now, that's the only angle from what we're told in our production truck. That trail runner, usually not the guy you follow in a television sequence. And so there is that replay, and that replay alone at this point in time.
And the key is, as far as replay is concerned, you have to have clear and concise evidence to overturn a call. And is that going to be enough in New York to say, yes, he missed that, and call him out?
Now, there are other cameras that Major League Baseball has, but I don't know that there are any that would be following a trail runner around or are fixed on second base to see if a runner touched the bag or not in that sequence.
New York might look at that and say, hey, his toe might have grazed the bag as he went around.
They might, or the fact that the toe kicked up dirt before it hit the bag, or as it was going by the bag. Maybe they feel like if that's the case, he didn't have toe on bag. That's a lot of dots to connect.
There's a lot of dots. Pat Shine down there in the Marlins video replay room took a good look at that and felt it was enough evidence to give it a shot early in this ball game. And hey, you know what? Why not stop the bleeding from Andrew Cashner? Be nice if he could get it out, an extra out here.
Looks like the verdict is in. Safe. And my guess is that it will be a call stands and not a call confirmed. Even Don Mattingly, who watched the replay up on the board, is not happy. And Jerry Lane's response has to be, look, it's not my call. It's the crew that's in New York. And it is a call stands. So the Marlins lose the challenge. And the White Sox sit first and third with one out.
Good point on that, Rich. With a trail runner like that, cameras aren't going to be fixed on him running around the bases. I mean, from us, what I saw, I think he missed it, but it has to be so clear.
Yeah, the key word in there is think.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, look, there have been a lot of suggestions on how to quicken the replay process. Throw to first. One suggestion is have the 4 umpires that are here involved in the process, and everything that we see on our high definition monitor, they see on their high definition monitor, which sits in right center field. Now, not every ballpark has the same type of monitor, but just about everybody in baseball now has an HD screen sitting out in left field. Or you put a 5th umpire that sits somewhere in the ballpark. Meanwhile, Cashner still can't find the plate. He's 2-0 to Melky Cabrera.
Still just one out here in the second inning. 45 pitches now on that pitch count. We saw Chris Narveson up in the bullpen in the first inning, starting to warm up. Quiet right now.
Boy, huge jump. And you know what? It's one thing not to throw strikes. It's another to just fall asleep with a runner at first base. And now the threat of a double play is gone. Look at this jump.
Huge jump.
That one fouled off. Cabrera taking a rip at a 3-0 pitch.
A little surprised after Cashner not being able to find the strike zone. Veteran hitter like Cabrera thought, hey, you know what? He might just try to pour one right down the middle here because he can't find the corners.
3-0 White Sox. And he walks him. And loads the bases. Now, next door from White Sox television. Top of the screen. Watch the foot. And it does hit the bag. Which means I don't think New York saw that, because if they saw that, it would be calls confirmed, right? Either way, it worked out the right way and correctly. But Cashner is still in hot water here, and he is having trouble locating. The White Sox are barreling pitches up. They have 3 runs on 6 hits, and the bags are loaded for Jose Abreu. Fouls it back, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, they got their 2 biggest power guys coming up right now in Abreu and Todd Frazier, second in the league with 31 home runs. Love to see what happened in the first inning happen here now with a ground ball double play. Narveson back up. The Marlins pen getting loose.
Infield back for 2. And Real Muto has to wrestle that one to the ground. And it's 2-1. Another visit out to Cashner. Remember the end of his start in Colorado. He had a 3-1 lead in the 6th inning in Denver, and then all of a sudden it was gone. 4 consecutive hits and a walk the last 5 that he faced. He ended up giving up 7 runs in the game, and the White Sox came out and punched him in the nose with 4 consecutive hits in the first. Got 2 runs. They've got 2 walks and 2 hits and a run here in the second. Aha. New York has updated their call. It was stands. Now they've corrected it to confirmed. So maybe they saw that video. They got it right. That's the bottom line.
Yes.
Now, as we told you, Jose Abreu's son, with a special visa from Cuba, is here to watch his father play in the major leagues for the first time.
What a thrill for everyone involved.
What a thrill for the whole family. And Abreu strikes out. So Cashner, his second strikeout, and here comes Frazier.
Cashner getting a break here. Abreu chasing 2 sliders well out of the strike zone. This one bounces just, it might have hit the plate. You see number 5 there hit the plate. He swung at number 4 as well. A little break here for Andrew Cashner. Hopefully he can get out of here with just the 1 run this inning.
So here's Frazier now, and he pulls it foul. He's kind of channeling his inner Adam Dunn this year, right? With 31 homers and a .210 average, 109 strikeouts, just a .295 on base.
Adam Dunn, big slugger. I played with him last year in Cincinnati. Like you said, famous for low average, high home run titles.
1-1. A strike. You heard Frazier cursing himself, letting that pitch go.
Home run hitter that has the bases loaded doesn't let a fastball like that go too often. He expressed his displeasure because that's what you're going to get next.
And he was a home run hitter from the very start. In the Little League World Series, he had a 4-homer run and helped his team, Toms River, New Jersey, to the World Series championship, the Little League World Series.
Home run derby champion at the All-Star game last year.
Foul tip. Frazier stays alive. You know, the odd thing about Todd Frazier that surprised me in getting ready for this game, this is just his 4th full year in the major leagues.
Seems like he's been around a lot longer than that, doesn't it?
Parts of 6 years in the minors out of Rutgers University. 1-2. Got him, and the bat flies all the way into left, and the inning ends. 3-0 White Sox. Early hits in the first 2 innings. 2017 season ticket deposit guarantees access to the 2017 All-Star Game in Miami. It's your chance to secure seats for a once-in-a-generation event. Deposit start at just $250, 1-877-MARLINS, or go to marlins.com/season tickets.
That's going to be a huge event next year. I'm really excited to be part of the festivities. It's going to be here in Miami. I think they're going to put on a great show for the 2017 All-Star Game.
2-time All-Star and an All-Star MVP yourself. Marcell Ozuna now takes a strike. Well, Carlos Rodon gave up a single to D. Gordon. He swiped a bag. Got a strikeout of Yelich and of Stanton. Got him out of trouble. It's 1-2 to Ozuna with JT Realmuto and Miguel Rojas in the wings. Full schedule of baseball today. 1 game finished. The Cubs mauled the Cardinals 13-2. Jake Arrieta is now 14-5. Adam Wainwright took the brunt of that. And the Cubs lead is up to like 38 games, I think, in the Central.
Well, they got hot after their stint here in Miami. 10 games in a row today, 10 straight the Cubs have won. And look at that 14-game lead they now have over St. Louis.
To right, Eaton's there. He makes the catch.
The struggles continue for Marcell Ozuna over the last 7 games. Now just 2 for 27.
Here's Real Muto. Marlins are still missing a big piece in the middle of their lineup, Justin Bour. And if you saw Marlins live, you heard Don Mattingly talk about Bour and how the ankle is still on the mend, but the problem was in rehabbing the ankle, it was a high ankle sprain. Just about everything else has been irritated. Mattingly said the Achilles is now in play. And that for now, Justin Bour not in this next week, which has to frustrate the heck out of Bour.
Well, and talk about frustrating for Don Mattingly too, and you got that left-handed power bat backing up either Stanton or Ozuna. 16 home runs. That's a sore spot. The Marlins desperately need that power bat in their lineup.
Eaton with another put out there in right. Speak for yourself. Colin Cowherd, Jason Whitlock. They team up for FS1's new daily sports talk show. Speak for yourself, weeknights at 6 Eastern. Here now is Rojas. Be interesting to see how the Mets respond to Terry Collins' terse post-game comments yesterday.
Good word, terse.
Right now, the Mets at home trailing the Padres 5-2.
I'm sure Terry Collins is trying to light a fire into his team. They have not been playing well as of late. Playoff team last year.
To me, it's refreshing to hear a major league manager talk about, hey, these guys need to start playing better because I got a bunch of guys in Las Vegas that would love to trade places with me. You don't often hear that.
In Las Vegas, meaning
that's the AAA as
AAA,
well. Yeah.
not the
Louis and Guido.
Not the bookies out there. We're talking about the AAA team that is in Las Vegas wanting to take spots. And he's right. This is playoff time. They've got it in their hands, and they can control their own destiny.
Carlos Rodon right now is controlling Miami. Rojas bounces out. White Sox here 3-0. Central concerns. White Sox in the Central, 19-27 this year. The only year they've had a winning record in the Central is 2012. That's since 2000. And it's been somewhat of a descent for Robin Ventura and the White Sox. They had a 6-game lead in the Central on May 9th, 23-10 start. But of course, as we noted, the Cardinals in the National League Central looking up at the Cubs. Everybody in the American League Central looking up at the Indians, with the Tigers just 4 back. Tigers on a little bit of a skid, have dropped 4 straight. Marlins go to Cleveland in early September. Kansas City comes to Miami. J.B. Shuck. The count is 2-1. Andrew Cashner has thrown 62 pitches already.
Yeah, when you look at Cashner's night, you look at the White Sox hitters reacting to his pitches. They just don't. They're seeing the ball extremely well. They're not flinching. They're not really going after anything out of the strike zone. Shuck thought that one was a little bit low and out of the strike zone. Fox Tracks has it right there. Strike at the bottom of the zone, and I don't know. They're just seeing the ball very well right now.
Little tap, a real Muto. Bang bang, and he's out. That's one of those plays. That one right there, you could hear and see, and that's the exact mechanics of a first base umpire. He's watching the bag. He's listening for the pop of the glove. Let's listen.
Aren't just too many catchers are going to get out of their position and make this play better than JT Realmuto. Talk about former shortstop, has those good infield instincts, and anything that taps in front of the plate, he's one of the better ones I've seen go out there and get it.
Scott Berry, that umpire down at first base. That's why the ball in the dirt or anything that disrupts that rhythm of the umpire listening for the glove pop, watching the bag, that really scrambles a first base umpire, makes it much more difficult. Up the middle, up the bat of Anderson. D. Gordon, far to his right. Anderson kind of looks out, wondering where Gordon came from.
I think D. Gordon is getting his defensive legs back underneath him. We've seen him make some mistakes early after coming back from the suspension that he didn't really make last year, and is winning the Gold Glove, and that is a Gold Glove caliber play up the middle.
Now the White Sox catcher, Omar Narvaez. And this inning shaping up to be the best inning of the 3 for Andrew Cashner. And a strike. Boy, the Mets are now getting blasted 8-2. The Padres just hit a pair of home runs, and they have 4 total against Logan Verrett. So that's good news for the Marlins on that account. Cardinals have lost. Nationals are trailing Atlanta 2-1 in the 4th in DC. Dodgers at home against the Pirates. Giants at home against Baltimore.
American League East is shaping up to be a good race down here mid-August. Toronto, Baltimore, Boston, just 3 games separating Then Toronto's only got a half-game lead over Baltimore. Out in the West, National League West, San Fran's got a 1-game lead on the Dodgers.
Well, throwing strikes to the number 8 hitter, Narvaez, has been tough for Cashner. He's walked him twice. There's your American League East with Toronto, Baltimore halfback, Boston, 3 teams over 60 wins. And you know, the Yankees, for all the turn the page and think about next year, they're still 2 over. You know, there was something happening in that Yankee game tonight. I can't put my finger on it right now. I'm not sure what it was. They're honoring somebody. I'm not sure.
Yankee at the Yankee game?
Yes. Yes, Alex Rodriguez, last game as a Yankee. He is the DH. Rodon getting to swing the bat, and counts 1-2. There is a home run in that game, but it's by Evan Longoria. The Rays have a 1-0 lead, top first.
You look at Andrew Cashner. He's the American League pitcher here. I'm sure he's absolutely trying to throw a strike here, but boy, just let him put it in play if he can.
Saw the smile on Rodon's face. Conversation with either himself or with JT Realmuto. Anthony struck him out. And a nice inning by Cashner. 80 pitches in through 3.
Nothing bottom of the 3rd inning we go here. Mets hosting San Diego, struggling again, as Rich and Jeff just mentioned. And here's Terry Collins' thoughts on the way the Mets have skidded. 10-19 last 29.
I don't care who's not here. There are no excuses here. These are Major League Baseball players. I don't care where they came from. I don't care how they got here. The names on their back and on the front of their uniforms say they're a Major League Baseball player. It starts with them. And when you come and when you owe what you do, you owe a responsibility to the fans, our fan base, the organization, and to yourself, the respect for this game, to come out and grind it out.
Terry fired up when he finished. He said, "That's all I got," and walked out of his press conference last night. Not happy with the result tonight either, as Echeverria hits one to right field. the Mets were 9 games over, guys, on July 7th. And since then, 10-19. Remember last year, they made their run in the second half. This year, they're struggling.
Thank you, Craig. And guys, I think when he walked out, it was it's the managerial equivalent of a mic drop.
I was going to say, just drop the mic.
Yes, peace out.
Crickets after that. Nothing else needs to be said.
Right now, crickets for the Marlins against Carlos Rodon. Andrew Cashner climbs in. That D. Gordon single is it for the first time through against the big lefty. And that's a strike as Cashner tried to bunt.
It was interesting. You saw Cashner's eyes glancing at the left side of the infield before the pitch was even thrown, and the idea of trying to drop one down.
Cashner bounces out, and with 2 outs, here comes D. Gordon. Digital Flex Pass features 20 digital tickets for just $199. That's just $10 a game, and you pick the games you want to attend. Flex Pass is a perfect way to follow the fish down the stretch. Go to Marlins.com right now.
With 2 outs and the leadoff hitter coming up, the pitcher just made an out. Usually you see a lot of leadoff hitters take at least a strike to give the starting pitcher a little bit of time. D. Gordon there takes that fastball, even up the count of 1-1.
Rodon misses up. I told you he was the 3rd overall pick out of North Carolina State, the highest North Carolina State pick. He eclipsed Dan Plesac. Plesac, of course, had a very, very nice major league career, and now doing bang-up work on MLB Network. Sawed off is Gordon. That's an 8-pitch inning, and Rodon is cruising. And the Marlins go after the White Sox tomorrow night. James Shields, Adam Conley. That's your matchup. And if you want to go into the Chris Sale, Adam Conley comparison, Sale pitches on Sunday. That one's rifled into right, eaten with a big turn. And my goodness, the leadoff man for the White Sox is 3 for 3 in the 4th inning.
It's a good night after 4 innings.
Now Tyler Saladino. Saladino is 2 for 2. Doubled in the first, RBI single in the second for Saladino.
Look at the top two for the Chicago White Sox, 5 for 5 coming into this at bat. 7 hits total for the White Sox. These two guys have 5 of them.
3-0 Chicago on top. Eaton bluffs. It's called a strike. Remember, the White Sox swiped a bag in the second on an enormous jump. So much so that Realmuto didn't even flinch once he got the ball.
Look at the White Sox box score. Their first 4 hitters have all 7 hits. The bottom 5 have 0 as of this point.
You know, sometimes it occurs to me that players don't quite understand, and I'm sure what happens in the heat of the moment, the replay system, because Miguel Rojas looked into the dugout as if to say, hey, let's look at that play. The Marlins don't have a challenge left.
Losing the challenge.
And announcers, everybody, I think, when a play like that happens, everybody reacts like, oh, well, let's look at that play into center. Ozuna's there, and he makes the catch.
We even saw Tim Wallach there on the phone, maybe possibly talking to Pat Shine, who's basically got the rest of the night off. But he might have said, hey, was he out or safe, just for informational purposes.
Melky Cabrera now. Cabrera 32, just turned 32. Second year with the White Sox. An All-Star in 2012. But also suspended that year. PED suspension. In 346 with the Giants.
Back after that suspension, signed a 2-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now here with the Chicago White Sox.
Busted bats. Gordon got one. Etches turn in time. Nicely done by Andrew Cashner. And so Cashner has settled in. And it's 3-0 White Sox. Sports Florida is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, by Southwest Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide, and by your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. In Miami tonight, the White Sox have scored early and the Marlins have struggled. But it's bottom of the fourth. The second time through for Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, and Giancarlo Stanton against Carlos Rodon, who nearly was a Marlin. The Marlins had the second overall pick in that draft, and they took high school hard thrower Tyler Kolek, who is on the mend after Tommy John surgery. Rodon, as Jeff pointed out, made just 9 starts in the minors. He jumped right into that rotation. Had a 3.75 ERA last year. But an ERA of 4.5 this season.
Yeah, when you look at NC State, part of that ACC baseball, it's, man, tough to. It's arguably one of the better baseball conferences in the nation.
Into center field, and Prado has a hit.
You have that level of maturity in college baseball, 3-time All-American there. This pitch right down the middle. Martin Prado leading the world in batting average against left-handed pitchers. Takes that one right up the middle. Let's see the Marlins string something together here and put something on the board. See Martin having an outstanding season, 3rd in the league in hits, 138.
Yelich takes a rip at a fastball. He took that good Rodon slider for strike 3, his first at bat. Ball and a strike.
Christian Yelich taking some very uncharacteristic swings for him off Rodon tonight. You saw him in the first inning strike out on a slider that was pretty much right down the middle. I don't think he's picking him up very well at all.
Fastball, and that handcuffed Narvaez.
Pretty compact delivery here. Big guy, big legs, big body to hide the ball. Doesn't use his back much at all. Stands pretty much upright. A little bit different than you see from most lefties.
Well, that's out. And the Marlins push Rodon to a 3-2 count. See what Yelich gets.
Christian Yelich have an outstanding season. You see his .891 OPS. Been hovering around that 400 on base average for most of the season. 32 doubles on the year.
This is the first 3-ball count for Carlos Rodon.
Look at Marlins history about Marlins record for doubles. Miguel Cabrera in 2006, 50 doubles is the Marlins record. Ugla and Pino Ramirez in 2007, 49 and 48 respectively. This expect with 48 games to go, Christian Yelich might be contending for a couple of those spots.
Tried to get out of the way, couldn't check his swing, and strikes out for the second time tonight.
Christian Yelich's 93rd strikeout on the season. That ball was well inside. He probably recognized it early as possible breaking pitch that did not break. Very uncharacteristic of him to swing at a pitch that far out of the strike zone.
Stanton struck out on a couple fastballs his first time up. Rodon was behind in the count 3-1 and then just essentially threw 2 balls by him.
He's got that big arm. Last pitch to Stanton that first at bat was 96 miles an hour.
To right, Eaton. A couple steps to his right. And there are 2 outs, and here comes Ozuna. Marlins box score, and you know it doesn't stretch that far. It would go way off the screen. But if you could extend it to Wednesday, even to Tuesday, there would be some more offers and some higher at bat totals. Marlins had just 4 hits on Tuesday, but beat the Giants 2-0. Lost 1-0 with 5 hits on Wednesday. As Jeff documented, Ozuna in a rut right now, 2 for his last 27. Prado not a base stealer. He and Abreu chatted out. And Rodon has not picked anyone off this year.
Marcell Ozuna, boy, all-star this year, starting left fielder for the National League. You talk about what he did for the Marlins in the first half when Giancarlo Stanton was really struggling. Really kept this offense alive. 19 home runs on the season now with 59 RBIs, but has really struggled since that All-Star game.
There's your post All-Star numbers on the bottom. All the way to the screen, and Prado's going to get to second base. And so Rodon with a little bit of wildness here. He hadn't walked anybody yet, but he's 3-0 on Ozuna.
One of the things that made Ozuna so successful before the All-Star break, he was very patient and working a lot with Barry Bonds on pitch selection and not swinging at pitches out of the strike zone. We've seen him improve by leaps and bounds, but as of late, you see him kind of go back to some of those bad habits of last year, swinging at those balls out of the strike zone, which has really hurt his batting average.
Takes that one out. And a pair of base runners with 2 outs. Here comes Real Muto. By the way, in that Yankee game, Alex Rodriguez, his last game as a Yankee, he has an RBI double against Chris Archer. And the Yankees and the Rays are tied 1-1 in the second. Real Muto fly to right. Cooper, pitching coach of the White Sox. It's a coaching staff that also has a little bit of a Marlin wrinkle to it. Rick Renteria is the bench coach, better known as Jeff Conine's teammate and the secret weapon.
Secret weapon. Great baseball guy, one of the nicer teammates you're ever going to see. Had a remarkable spring training.
Who gave him that nickname?
I believe it was Jim Leland gave him that nickname. Possibly, or Renee Latchman. But I think he hit .540 in spring training or something. It was, you couldn't get him out, and a relative unknown came into camp with us and ended up breaking the team with the team, and they called him secret weapon because he was a very good pinch hitter that year.
On and 2 with 2 outs. Real Muto up the middle into center field. That's a hit. Around third, Prado, and Miami's on the board. And some life here in the 4th for the Fish.
Nice piece of hitting by JT. This ball's not a bad pitch in the outside part of the plate, but elevated. He gets on top of it nicely. Might even been a ball. He missed his spot badly. So Narvaez trying to reach outside the strike zone to catch that ball. And lo and behold, the Marlins are on the board. It seems like they are down by 8 in this game so far. They've only got a 2-run deficit.
Don Cooper is out to the mound. You've got Rojas on deck. Looked like the message was direct, short. We'll see how the young lefty responds.
Miguel Rojas, for me, has done a very nice job filling in with the injuries. Lots of injuries the Marlins have had. First base, he's given time off to Martin Prado at third. Spelled Adeiny Echeverria at short. Has played second base. I mean, you look at filling in and hitting .250 and playing one of the better defensive at any position the Marlins have. He's been a valuable asset to Don Mattingly in this Marlins team.
It used to be you would say about a guy like Rojas that he's a terrific National League player because of his versatility. But I mean, Joe Madden, obviously in his run with the Rays, valued a guy like Rojas and used him to his advantage as a very versatile guy you could plug in and out in different spots. Wow.
Rodon's reaction there almost looked like he hurt something on that pitch.
May have stuck one of his legs when he landed. It's 2-1.
How far out of the strike zone this pitch is, and Narvaez barely getting a glove on it.
It's good to be right-handed rather than left-handed on that pitch. Two. 96 on the fastball.
a very big variation in Rodon's fastball tonight. I've seen him 90, 91 on trying to two-seam it, get a little more movement, and then he'll bust out a 96. We saw a strikeout to Giancarlo Stanton on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and there to Miguel Rojas.
Two balls, two strikes. We'll talk about how high Andrew Cashner's pitch count is, 88. Rodon's not that far behind. With 31 pitches now in this inning, he'll have to throw another one to Rojas.
Just eight pitches last inning to get out of the third. Very manageable, respectable pitch count coming into this inning, but 32 now. Has gotten up there in a hurry.
Now the count fold out, 3-2. A run across, 2 outs. Ozuna from second, Realmuto from first will be motoring on a 3-2 from Carlos Rodon.
This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat for Miguel Rojas.
Foul tip in and out of the glove of Narvaez. If the White Sox go to their bullpen, and it feels like they'll be going there shortly, there are a couple of ex-Marlins in that bullpen. Jacob Turner and Dan Jennings. Right now they're fascinated with the Clevelander. This is their first time here. 3-2 again. Rojas down the right field line, and it's just foul. That would have tied the game.
Good battle here going on with Miguel Rojas. Almost sliced that one right down the right field line. Up to 11 pitches now in this at bat. And he knew it right away. When that ball goes down the right field line like that with a spin, you know it's not going to stay fair. Crowd was into it though. Fox tracks all over the map.
But pitch 10 right on the edge, and not something that you're comfortable taking. 2 on and 2 strikes.
Definitely not.
But that's the approach that has made Rojas successful, going up the middle, going to right field. It's great at bat. Pitch. Drives it left center field. Shuck in pursuit, and he makes the catch. And the Marlins leave 2. They score 1 and trail it 3-1.
Marlins moment. Ozzie Guillen was the manager the only time the Chicago White Sox have come to South Florida to play in a regular season Major League game. And here it was 12 years ago. Frank Thomas hit a homer off Jeff Conine's head. Let me go to replay. That might have hit the scoreboard. But Miguel Cabrera, Mike Lowell were among those Marlins of the Florida version that homered against the White Sox as the Marlins won 2 of the 3 matchups at the old football stadium. The young Carl Pavano had a complete game shutout as well in that series for Miami. Then Florida finishing off the Sox. As you see, another line drive to center. That's a hit for Abreu. Hard to believe, guys, they've only played 12 games coming into tonight, and only the Kansas City Royals and Angels have not come to this ballpark now that the White Sox are here tonight. We'll see the Royals later on this season.
Yeah, you're right. They'll be in here. There's a lot of firepower in that 2004 ball club, right?
Yes, there were.
There was a Carlos Lee sighting. We saw Paul Konerko on deck. He had Big Hurt. Of course, they would win the World Series the next year, 2005. Andrew Cashner now into the 5th. A line drive single to Abreu with his first pitch. A strike to Todd Frazier with his second. Frazier to right center. Stanton back at the track. Looks up, leaps, and can't get it. Up with the ball is Ozuna. And Frazier's got a double. Stanton angry at the wall. He went a long way and made a leap. And let's hope he didn't aggravate that hip.
Yeah, he runs a long way to track this ball down. Hits off the middle of that Ford sign. You see the spot in the wall where his spike stuck in there. It's a good effort, not far from catching that ball.
But Cashner's back in the spot where he was in the first. Single, double to open an inning. Here is Shuck.
Just when the Marlins get back into this game a little bit, scoring a run, you hope for that shutdown inning the next inning to keep that momentum hopefully going on the Marlins side.
Ground ball. Coming home is Rojas. Perfect throw, and he gets it. How about that?
Well, we talked about the defense of Miguel Rojas, and he is not a normal first baseman. This guy's a shortstop that's playing first base. Look at the quick turnaround here. Some of the best hands, probably the best hands in Major League Baseball right now at first base. Throws a rocket to JT, not even close. Gotta have that luxury. Love having that luxury of that kind of defense over first base on a play like that.
Now, a couple things here. The inning can end on a double play, but Cashner has to keep Shuck close at first base. Anderson twice has bounced out up the middle. Breaking ball for a strike.
Cashner approaching the 100 pitch mark now in just the 5th inning. Bullpen's been up and getting heated up. If he makes it through this, I'm sure we'll see a pinch hitter for him as he is up second next inning.
247 average, 274 on base for the rookie Tim Anderson. White Sox very high on him, as they should be. Lifts it to right. Stanton lines it up. Tagging is Frazier. Here he comes. Throw to the plate, up the line, and he scores. And Shuck advances to second.
This is that play from the outfield where you want to keep it low so that infielder has at least a shot of cutting it off Shuck reads it just out of his hand. He knows he's got no chance cutting it off, so he walks basically to first base. Throw right on the money. Might have been close, but I don't think he would have gotten him. But at least you keep that runner at first base, keep the double play in order.
Intentional walk to White Sox catcher Omar Narvaez. J.B. Shuck now resides at second, and Carlos Rodon will come up. Out trying to bunt, and he struck out. So 4-1 White Sox.
Rodon with 78 pitches. Had a big inning last inning, 30 plus, next to Miguel Rojas' 12 pitch at bat. But Robin Ventura wants to leave him in here so they don't have to go to their bullpen so early in this game.
Mike Dunn is ready. And this is the guy that obviously you want Cashner to get. That's why the Marlins walk Narvaez. Two balls, two strikes. Got him. So for Cashner, 106 pitches. 4-1 White Sox. Brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, by Subaru of Pembroke Pines, and by Lexus of Pembroke Pines. Price, service, selection. You're gonna love us. Halfway through Marlins Park, this is a game dominated by the White Sox, and the score very easily could be 6-7 to 1. as it is, it's just a 3-run lead. And the Marlins will try to chip away a little more at Carlos Rodon. Echeverria, a pinch hitter. It looks like Chris Johnson. And then D. Gordon. Andrew Cashner, 105 pitches officially. And Rodon about to throw his 80th pitch.
Through 5 innings, Chicago White Sox 9 hits, and they've left 8 men on base. Like you said, Rich, it could be much worse for the Marlins. Hopefully they keep this deficit and close in, come back and win this ball game.
Fastball out. Well, in this series, the Marlins will see James Shields tomorrow, and then Chris Sale on Sunday. Adam Conley for the Fish on Saturday. Tom Kohler on Sunday. If you missed the news, this is a scheduled skip for Jose Fernandez, and it looks like his next start will be Friday in Pittsburgh.
You know, there are some people out there looking at that Chris Sale, Jose Fernandez matchup. It would have been one of the better matchups in baseball. 2 dominant pitchers. And as we've said, you know, with the Jose Fernandez situation, it was a scheduled thing. They planned this out in spring training that he was going to miss a couple of starts later in the season to keep him on track, especially now that the Marlins are in the playoff hunt. You need him to be available for postseason.
Chris Johnson, proud recipient of the Pinch Penny Pinch Hitter Award for tonight. A month supply of pool toys for him.
Nice.
You know, the floating basketball ring.
Oh yeah. The ducky.
Big duck ring floating.
Yep.
1-0. Johnson hits it well to center. Shuck makes the catch. And Echeverria retreats to first. If you're doing the math and you say, oh, wait a minute, Jose goes from Sunday all the way to Friday in Pittsburgh. There is a start in there that the Marlins plan on bringing somebody up from AAA, or they could turn to their bullpen and make it a Chris Narveson start. But we'll see. That would be Tuesday night in Cincinnati.
A lot of it depends on how much they have to use that bullpen here in this series against Chicago. Sometimes if the bullpen is well rested, the manager might decide to go with a bullpen by committee day. Take one of your long guys, try to get 3 or 4 innings out of them, and then piece together the rest of the game.
Gordon is singled, swiped a bag, and then bounced out. The Mets are down 8-3 now at home against the Padres in the 6th.
St. Louis also behind the Marlins in that wild card race, lost 13-2 today to the Chicago Cubs, the red hot Chicago Cubs, winners of 10 in a row.
See the base hit for Chris Coghlan last night? He was trying to call timeout, didn't get it. Pitcher threw to the plate. Coghlan put his hands back on the bat and ripped the line drive to right.
That's impressive.
Yes. Well, Cogs can hit.
He can hit, we know that.
Washington losing at home to Atlanta 7-3 in the 6th. Gordon battling Carlos Rodon. It's 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Fish are 6 over, but they've dropped 6 of their last 9. In. And the Marlins saw how good the Cubs were in Chicago, and they've run off It's 11 straight with their win over the Cardinals today. It will be interesting to see how the Giants look going back home, because they certainly played better than that road trip record here in Miami. Little tapper. Rodon, safe. Abreu off the bag. Gordon is safe at first. And here comes Martin Prado. I'm sure the White Sox are looking at this.
Anytime D. Gordon takes a full swing and hits it on the short part of this infield, you had better get rid of it quickly. Rodon knows that, and I think he's out.
Well, you can see the foot starting to come up. White Sox haven't challenged yet. It's back of the glove. Can you? Ah, boy.
They're going to take a look at it.
Yeah, they're going to go for it. I think it's a good gamble to take if you're the White Sox. It's just you're getting closer to the 7th inning when umpires can initiate their own replays. Super slow-mo. Let's see. Ball back of glove, foot on bag. Foot is Is it clear and conclusive because the original call is safe?
I think they're going to have enough evidence on this one to turn it over. It's going to be a pretty quick decision, too.
He's out. So Gordon's out. Abreu's toe was on the bag. And that's a big out.
See, the ball has been the back of, I think the question was whether he was off the bag or not. The umpire said he was off the bag, and that's why it was safe, but his toe was on there.
White Sox keep their challenge. Miami lost their challenge earlier, challenging that a runner at second missed the bag. So here's Prado, who's flied out and singled. And he continues to hit left-handed pitching, the best in the National League. See his numbers with runners in scoring position. Very good with 2 strikes. He's in a lot of those hitting categories that pop up.
There's a lot of lines here on our stat sheet. They will highlight the players that are in the game today, and as far as the top 10s or leaders are concerned, and Martin Prado has got a lot of lines under his name.
Hardest to strike out is 3rd in the National League. Joe Panik, Daniel Murphy, Martin Prado. Those are the 3 toughest to strike out.
As of right now, Prado and Yelich have flip-flopped as far as National League batting average race is concerned. Tonight, Yelich came in at 6th and Prado was 7th. Prado is now a point ahead of Christian Yelich. Wilson Ramos still up there at the top of the leaderboard as far as average is concerned. 336 for the Nationals catcher.
What a weapon he's been this year. In the dirt, and Prado walks. And so Yelich comes to the plate. Coming to the booth tomorrow and to the ballpark is one of our favorites, Cliff Floyd. Look at the sweet swing, and that sweet swing has been captured in this lifelike bobblehead on an All-Star Saturday. First 5,000 fans get a Cliff Floyd All-Star bobblehead. Cliff Floyd night tomorrow night. 7:10 start.
Love Cliffy. Great teammate. This is actually not a bad bobblehead either. What do you think, Rich?
Oh, wait a minute. Where's the bat?
Oh, yeah. There's a bat.
No. Maybe it's still in the box. We got the Cliff Floyd box. There's Cliff.
There's Cliff.
Where's the bat?
There it is.
Hold on. There it is. Please install the bat.
Install the bat here. Hopefully installation goes well. There you go. How about that?
Friend of the show, Cliff Floyd. Now one of the stars of MLB Network.
And I will tell you, one of the scariest men I've ever had to hold someone on first base when he's at the plate. You don't want to hold on a runner at first base because the closer you are, that you saw that swing, it's pretty violent, and he hit some rockets down there. First baseline, that's for sure.
Saw Cliff Floyd at Fish and Chips last night. Yelich fouls it back. Marlins trying to put a dent in this White Sox lead. 1-1. This has been a troublesome matchup for Yelich all night. He has struck out twice. White Sox pen is in motion. One and two. Told you that Jacob Turner is on this ball club, and he's up right now.
Yelich on the season, 306 versus lefties, very, very good splits, but just does not look very comfortable against Rodon tonight.
Well, it looks like this is the last inning for Rodon. 102 pitches. He's given up just the one run, but you saw that fourth inning, a whopping 36 pitches. Yelich battling. 1 and 2. Boy, check swing. I think he went. He did. And Yelich is out. Hunter Wendelstedt at third base, and Yelich has struck out his first 3 times up. You don't see that very often. Miami leads 2 and trails by 3. Presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. Top 6, 4-1 White Sox on top of the Marlins. And now the bullpens get involved. Dustin McGowan is the first out of Miami's pen. McGowan coming off a really nice effort in that extra inning loss to the Giants. For Andrew Cashner, it was a struggle. Cashner goes 5 innings, 9 hits, just 4 runs. And I say just because it looked like the 9 hits and the 5 walks would produce a lot more than 4 runs.
8 men left on base in those first 5 innings, and this guy Eaton have not been able to get him out yet. 3 for 3 coming into this 5th or 6th inning at bat.
Eaton having a great year defensively, as we talked about. Miami of Ohio, where he went to college. Springfield, Ohio. It's his hometown. He had a very nice year last year. A 361 on base, 28 doubles, 9 triples, 14 homers, swiped 18 bags. He's got himself another hit. Well, the other night, Brandon Crawford had 7 hits, and Eaton has got 4 hits. This game's only in the 6th inning. Of course, like cold hard fact, 2 runs or less, 64 to 114. Maybe that's why there's a few more gray hairs for Robin Ventura and all of us. 41 one-run games lead Major League Baseball. Saladino has hit it hard 3 times. Lined out his last time up. This guy has spent 6 years in the White Sox system. Grew up in San Diego. And like you, Jeff Conine, like you, as a minor leaguer, minor league position player, had Tommy John surgery.
There's something about that guy we had in common. Definitely not the mustache. I don't think I ever had a mustache that looked like that.
And this isn't good. Concern about McGowan on the mound. Dustin Luker, one of the Marlin trainers. Juan Nieves, Don Mattingly.
He's emphatically saying, I'm good. Let's get this game back on the road. We saw McGowan come through with a big effort last series versus the Giants. 3 2/3 innings in that 14-inning affair on Monday. He's had some time to rest up. 62 pitches. Hoping there's no lasting effects from that.
McGowan steps off. I think that was Rojas yelling at him, or maybe Real Muto, because Eaton had a rolling lead and was ready to bust to second. Saladino fouls it back. Joe McEwing is the third base coach. We saw Saladino looking his way. Better known when he was a Cardinal as Super Joe McEwing.
Super Joe.
Good pitch by McGowan. Rojas really slid through that bar there and into the camera well. Two. That one hooked foul. Three-gamer closes the homestand. Chris Sale, Tom Kohler on Sunday. And then it's the Reds for 4, Monday through Thursday. Pirates for 3. And as of now, Jose Fernandez is slated to start the series in Pittsburgh.
That could be a sleeper team there as far as this wild card race is concerned. Currently 2 games back of the Marlins.
Echeverria makes the catch.
As far as that second wild card place is concerned, and Pirates last couple of years have come on strong. They played very good baseball late in the season, August on through September, to make the playoffs. That might be my team to watch out for. Cardinals been banged up there. That's bad news yesterday. Matt Holliday got a ball off the finger, fractured. He'll be out for some time.
Melky Cabrera now. RBI singles, walked, bounced into a double play. McGowan misses out. So 5 innings from Cashner. Rodon has thrown 103 pitches. Runner goes, good jump. Cabrera pulls it. Rojas to the bag. 2 outs. And here comes Abreu. Abreu, a star in Cuba. 10 years with the Cienfuegos. Same team that Yasiel Puig played on. Abreu also a star in international play, World Baseball Classic, international tournaments. He's had a nice impact with the White Sox. Was Rookie of the Year, 4th in the MVP voting 2 years ago, All-Star that season as well. Followed that up with a 30-homer, 34 double season last year. Lives in Miami in the offseason.
Yeah, I talked about that Rookie of the Year season. Came in as a seasoned veteran, so to speak, with Cuba. But 35 doubles, 36 home runs, 107 RBIs, hit 317, 383 on base, 964 OPS. Monster year by Abreu. As everyone's getting adjusted to him, numbers have gone down slightly. 290 last year, has hit 280 this year. On base percentage has gone down, slugging percentage has gone down.
Pulls that one foul. Looks like it got him in the foot.
Take a look at this sinker down and in. Tough pitch by McGowan. See, it just clipped the left shin of Abreu as it goes foul. Does not feel good.
Two fouled at the plate. Speaking of Yasiel Puig, have you seen any of his minor league Snapchat productions?
I did see one coming over the airwaves a few days ago after a loss. Did some talk about his social media exploits in the minor leagues.
Swing and a miss. Realmuto gets out and tags out Abreu. Nice hitting from Dustin McGowan. 4-1 White Sox. Hampson, Geddy Lee, Geddy Lee from Rush in the Marlins suites. Member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and a big Baseball Hall of Fame fan. In fact, Craig Minervini in the next half inning will sit down and chat with Geddy Lee, who came to town to watch some baseball and meet a couple of legends. Giancarlo Stanton is up. Carlos Rodon is going to hang in there. The White Sox trying to squeeze another inning out of the lefty. Stanton, Ozuna, Realmuto. Stanton struck out, fly down. And Rodon trying to pick at the corner. Ball's behind 3-0.
Rodon high pitch count for the season.
Stanton went after a 3-0 pitch and he hits it to center. Shuck is there and he makes the catch. MLS Soccer Sunday is sponsored by Audi. Continues with a Western Conference clash. Clint Dempsey and the Seattle Sounders look to strike against Real Salt Lake. This Sunday 7 on FS1. Watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Here's Ozuna. Marcell Ozuna walked in the fourth. flied out in the second. Carlos Rodon returning to his hometown. High school and college up in North Carolina. Went to North Carolina State. He was a youngster here in Miami. That's when he got started in baseball. He's 2-2 to Ozuna.
Rodon 115 pitches as his high pitch game of the year. He's at 112 now. And pretty good changeup on the outside part of the plate there to get Marcell Ozuna to fly out.
He's done a great job of pitching to this ballpark. Fox Sports Florida, Southwest Airlines giving you a chance to win an all-inclusive stay at Nassau on Labor Day weekend. All right, just tweet hashtag Southwest Summer Days Sweeps. Hashtag Southwest Summer Days Sweeps. And then hashtag sponsor to Fox Sports Florida at Fox Sports Florida. I just get a sense everybody that's trying to do that just thinking, you know, what was it I'm supposed to hashtag there?
Rodon, pretty gutty performance tonight. Next pitch will be his high watermark as far as pitches in a night is concerned on this year, and he's still throwing 95 miles an hour on his fastball. Mixing in some good changeups here in the 6th inning. His career high is 116 pitches, which he's done twice. So this pitch right here will tie his career high pitches in a game.
And this has to be a pretty proud moment for him, for his parents, to come back to Miami and pitch like this.
Done an outstanding job. 3 hits only on the night. 1 earned run. And his career high 117th pitch was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. You could tell he's really airing it out here. 97 on that one to Realmuto.
Jacob Turner's been ready for the last couple innings. Nick Whitgren in Miami's pen. And Realmuto feeding the fans foul balls right now. Fastball after fastball. This is about, what, 6 to 7 miles an hour slower than the battle Realmuto had with Aroldis Chapman. Was that slider foul? And that was actually a great at bat in Chicago. He had, I want to say, 3 104-mile-an-hour pitches. Fought through a lot of those pitches, hit a sharp ground ball to end that at bat. Didn't go. Pitch number 9 is coming here from Rodon.
You look at the first 3 innings of this game, he only had 42 pitches. Since then,
that is on a hop. And Frazier fires to first. Realmuto hit it on the button, and Carlos Rodon through 6 has limited Miami to just a run on 3 hits. Geddy Lee when we get back. top of the 7th. Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Well, it is a supreme pleasure to say I'm with Geddy Lee, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, lead vocalist, among other titles for Rush, and a great baseball fan, good friend of the Marlins, and John Silverman. You having a fun day out at the ballpark?
Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
What kind of baseball fan? I know you're a memorabilia collector, but what about baseball? And because you don't associate, I don't think, baseball and a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer too many times.
Well, you know, baseball is a great thing to watch when you're on the road because you got a lot of dead time, and it's a fantastic way for me to escape from the rigors of the road and from whatever I'm up to. And I watch the games whenever I can, and I follow the box scores religiously, and yeah, even during intermission.
You're Canadian. Who was your team growing up?
Well, before we had a major league team, you know, we had the farm team of the Tigers there, and Sparky Anderson, in fact, I think played for the old Toronto Maple Leafs back in the day. So I went down to that park when I was very young. But then when the Expos came along, I became a big Expos fan, and that's how I met some of my pals that are still with your organization.
Right, a lot of them.
So it's like old Expo week for me here today.
Let me ask you a rock question. 2000, what I think it was 13, you and the band went into the Hall of Fame. It's probably something you don't dream about, think about when you want to get into music. How much did that touch you and your group?
Well, you know, it was always sort of controversial because it took us a long time to get in.
Yeah.
And so we tried to say to ourselves that it really didn't mean much. But when you're there on the day and you feel the love of all the people, and it was quite an overwhelming experience. It was very emotional, more emotional than I expected it to be. And I think we just ended the day feeling very proud that we were able to be accepted into that company.
Yeah. Anybody out there you think belongs in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Deep Purple, that's for sure.
How about baseball? You're following the teams now these days?
Yeah, oh yeah. I live in Toronto, and so we have a good team in Toronto, and I'm a big Blue Jays supporter. Yeah.
You have donated a lot, if I'm not mistaken, baseballs to the Negro League Museum, among other things, which I've been doing in Kansas City. It's amazing. Do you have a prized possession?
I've got a pretty fine Christy Mathewson single sign ball from early in the 20th century. So that's one of them, yeah.
Hey, nice spending time. Thanks for a few minutes. We really appreciate it. David Sampson, they've had all kinds of stars up here. This is the #1 guy, Geddy Lee, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Craig. 2-2 to Frazier. And Wickren misses, and it's 3-2.
Got to spend a little time with Geddy Lee before the game, and he actually brought a couple of baseballs with him that were extremely special. He's got a 3,000 hit club baseball that has Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, and Eddie Collins on it, and he brought it so Ichiro could add his name to that list.
So he had Ichiro sign the ball with all the 3,000 hit club on the ball?
Correct, and we were trying to ask him how many members are on that ball. He said, I don't know, but Ichiro had a hard time finding a spot to fit his autograph on that baseball.
Now, rumor was he also had a ball that had the 500 home run club guys' signatures, but he did not have Barry Bonds' signature on it yet.
Correct, and Barry Bonds signed that baseball for him, so it's pretty remarkable when you have a piece of memorabilia like that and you get to add to it, as he did today with two legends of our game.
It was very cool to talk to him on the field. Got a chance to meet Ichiro.
I was a huge Rush fan growing up, and Giancarlo Stanton, and actually found on Amazon, I got a Rush moving pictures, one of my favorite albums, old vinyl, and I got him to autograph that for me today.
Really?
Yeah. That'll go up in my room.
Very nice. No, he's a huge baseball fan. He knows a lot about the Marlins. He obviously a big Blue Jay fan now. He's been, you know, he was looking at Marlins Park, and this was the first time he's been here, and he remarked that the fans of Toronto deserve a ballpark like this, with natural grass under a roof. Whether he said they could do it at the old Sky Dome or a new place. He felt that the grass fields is something that he'd love to see his hometown Blue Jays play on.
Yeah, with the winters up there in Toronto, I don't know if grass is feasible or not, but can't be much worse than Minnesota, right?
Right. I mean, I think, but it'd be a hard time doing it inside of the Rogers Center, because that's a multi-purpose facility. They play a lot of other stuff there.
Canadian Football League, they play there. Is that right?
Rush concerts.
Absolutely. Actually, my first spring training with the Kansas City Royals, I was a rookie, and Brett Saberhagen invited me and a couple of other rookies to go to Tampa to see a Rush concert. So we drove over to Tampa from our home base there at Baseball City, and it was remarkable, the who's who of baseball players that were backstage saying hello to the band after this concert was over. For a rookie baseball player, it was amazing. Saw all the big time Blue Jays guys were there. Dave Steve and Boomer. David Wells was back there, and all the Royals guys. It was and he remembered that concert because of all the spring training guys that came to that show.
Whoa. Anderson stepped out, and that ball floated over the top. When we were in Toronto last year, here's a look at that pitch. Timeout. There was talk of trying to get grass inside the Rogers Center, but the problem is getting enough daylight to grow it as well. You really have to tear up the cement floor in the Rogers Center. It would affect other events, boat shows, all the big events they have in there. So they went with just field turf with a dirt infield. And there are many up there that hope that's the first step towards an all-grass playing field. It's a challenge, though. It's not easy to grow grass in a retractable roof facility. The Marlins have probably had the best run at it early in this ballpark's existence than others. Into center, that's a base hit from Tim Anderson. Frazier stops at second. Nick Wickren's got runners first and second. And Omar Narvaez, White Sox catcher, coming up. Jacob Turner is still up. He warmed up a couple innings ago, and then again last half inning, so it looks like Turner's going to come in. Miami's bullpen active. Mike Dunn is loosening up. And here is Narvaez. How many times do you see a number 8 hitter with 3 walks and just one of them intentional? When Andrew Cashner could not throw strikes to Narvaez, he walked him in the second to lead off an inning. He walked him in the third with 2 outs and nobody on, and then intentionally walked him in the fifth. Ball and a strike.
Justin Morneau on deck for the Chicago White Sox.
Morneau has resurfaced.
Signed by the White Sox as a free agent on June 9th.
One and two. This game at a slow pace. White Sox had 9 hits against Andrew Kashner. Dustin McGowan pitched the 6th. 1 hit and a strikeout. Two and 2. Into right, base hit. Charging is Stanton. Runner comes home. Stanton's throw is a good one, and he is out. Frazier out at the plate, I think. It was an odd signal by Jerry Lane, the home plate umpire, and he and Frazier in discussion. The White Sox still have their challenge left, so they'll look at it, but a nice throw by Stanton.
Well, great throw by Giancarlo Stanton. JT, we've seen him do this very well. Yes, he's definitely got him there.
Well, you lost sight of the hand. This is a better look.
It's hard to say if he got his glove on that shoulder before the hand got in there. And this one's probably not going to be much better. There's no
I don't think there's
compelling
anything
reason to take a look at this.
And the White Sox are not going to challenge. So no challenge by the White Sox. Though Frazier asked for one. Call by Jerry Lane. And Don Mattingly strolls out to the mound. And so with some help from Stanton, White Sox haven't scored this inning. Mike Dunn with 2 outs rolls out. A West Kendall Toyota called to the pen. .12 hits. They've left 9 on base. They just had a man thrown out at the plate. And there's 2 ways to look at it. The Marlins are down, but the White Sox are probably thinking they should be up 7 or 8 to 1 here. Buick brings you a big interleague matchup. White Sox and Marlins. You can see the Fish with an ERA up at 5.51. The Marlins have had trouble pitching in interleague games. Justin Morneau at the plate. Morneau has had a really nice career, which he would obviously like to extend. 35-year-old out of New Westminster, British Columbia. 49 games with the Rockies last year. Big swing and a miss. This is a guy who has won a batting title. He did it with Colorado in 2014. Was an American League MVP in 2006 with the Twins. And 4 times an All-Star.
Had big time problems, if I'm not mistaken, with concussions, correct? Missed a better part of a couple of years with recurring issues with concussions.
One, two. Swing and a miss. And he strikes out. Well, it's still 4-1. Your game summary. First inning. And it didn't start well for the Marlins and Andrew Cashner. Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu with RBI hits and a 2-0 lead. Second inning, back at it. Tyler Saladino with a base hit. That made it 3-0. We move ahead to further action when JT Realmuto sneaks one into the outfield. That made it 3-1, but in the 5th, White Sox answered right back. Tim Anderson. Todd Frazier would score. That's how we've arrived at 4-1. The Marlins have gone into their pen twice. This is the first time now the White Sox go, and it's a familiar face. Jacob Turner stands in. Miguel Rojas. Danny Echeverria. And in the pitcher spot, Turner, who never could quite get it together as a Marlins starter. Now trying to find a home in the White Sox pen. He's made a couple starts with the White Sox. It didn't go well. He was hoping to find a spot in the bullpen.
Hey, look at the outcome of this game. Just went through the highlights. And White Sox have left 11 men on base, 12 base hits. Seems like the Marlins should be down by a much greater deficit than just 3. Hopefully in these last 3 innings they can muster a comeback. At the St. Louis Cardinals that got beat today. San Diego is currently up on the Mets 8-6. Good to see them get a little streak together and distance themselves from the teams that are chasing them in this wild card race.
Turner was the 9th overall pick in the 09 draft by the Tigers. He and Rob Brantley were the big pieces that came Miami's way in the Anibal Sanchez Omar Infante trade back in 2012. He pitched well for the Marlins in 7 starts in 12. 20 starts in 2013. And then in 2014, the Marlins mid-season traded him to the Cubs. Claimed off waivers from the Cubs by the crosstown White Sox at the end of last year. Big swing and a foul off the foot of Rojas.
That's a good sinker from Jacob Turner right off the toe, it looked like. Saw Martin Prado do that on the last road trip, right in the instep there. Does not feel good. Jacob Turner showing some serious velocity right now. We saw him as a starter for the Marlins, 91 to 93 probably he lived at. He's hit 97 here in this relief outing.
Saladino. And Rojas is out. What a night for Carlos Rodon. A guy who spent a good part of his childhood here in Miami. Parents born in Cuba. Raised him here and then moved on to North Carolina. And he comes back home and in 6 innings holds the Marlins to just the 1 run and 3 hits.
Always special when you get to come back to your hometown. I think everyone's wish is to be able to play in a major league stadium that's in their hometown where they grew up. But if you can't, come back on the road trip like this, you can see all your family and friends and they get to watch you play.
Ichiro on deck. Fastball misses in. By the way, Rob Brantley was in AA, AAA, and briefly with the White Sox last year, is now in AAA with Tacoma. If you were wondering, he's played 71 games, is hitting .239 with a dozen homers. Turner's 3-1. It's down low. Echeverria walks. And here comes Ichiro. One of the best balls Ichiro has hit all year was the double he hit in the 9th inning against the Giants. Ichiro hit a ball that bounced off the warning track in left center field. And he rips that one down the right field line into the corner. Echeverria around second, headed for third, and he'll hold there. I'll tell you what, since he got 3,000, the ball is jumping off his bat.
Boy, what a lightning quick swing on this fastball down and in from Ichiro. Not bad location, but boy, did he smoke this ball. Like you said, Rich, what we've seen him do, especially pulling balls into right field, and last appearance he made, hit that double out into left center field. Bouncing off the track here at Marlins Park. His 3,000th hit was a ball off the wall in Colorado. Displaying a little power lately.
His batting average .321 now. And that's it for Jacob Turner. White Sox going to bring a lefty in to face Dee Gordon. The West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. And the crowd has been really quiet, and with good reason. It's been the White Sox from the very start that have controlled this game. But here, the Marlins with an uprising. Walked Echeverria, double by Ichiro. Here is Dee Gordon, and another former Marlin on the mound, Dan Jennings. Lefty out of the University of Nebraska. Gordon steps in, shortens the bunt, and pulls back. Now you got great speed out there on the bases and obviously at the plate. And this is Jennings this year. Look at this, a 1.86 ERA. He has been really good in the White Sox bullpen.
It's a flurry of ex-Marlins. Jacob Turner now. Dan Jennings.
Lefty's hitting just 203. Gordon sends it center field. Shuck lines it up. Everybody tags. And Echeverria is going to score. And Gordon provides the Marlins with their second run. And so Prado won't get to face the lefty because Robin Ventura strolls out to the mound. And he's going to go to his bullpen. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Dominican Heritage Night, and a quick glance at Dominican-born Hall of Famers. Juan Marichal, the Dominican dandy they called him in the 60s. 10-time All-Star, and Pedro Martinez, class of 2015. Dominant pitcher in his era, and a era of offense. A 2.93 ERA and 3 Cy Youngs.
He's one of the better ones I faced.
Martin Prado, Nate Jones. That would be strike one. White Sox pen has some good arms in it. Jones having a nice year. Bounces Ichiro 90 feet away.
It's just a big slider that gets away in the dirt.
Prado, a bouncer to short. Anderson in time. Miami has to settle for a run. 2-run lead now, 4-2 Chicago. to a 4-1 lead. Miami has cut it to 2. 3-game weekend set. We told you Saturday is Cliff Floyd bobblehead night. Sunday is a fun day, and back to school backpack day. First 5,000 kids get that Marlins backpack. 1:10 start. Go to marlins.com for details. Major League debut time. Not for her, although this may be her first game. This for Austin Brice is a big moment. This is his Major League debut. Brice, also a North Carolina guy, is 24. 9th round pick, 2010. Was a starting shortstop at Northwood High School in North Carolina. And he gets to face a guy that's 4 for 4 in Adam
Welcome
Eaton.
to the big leagues.
Eaton, Tyler Saladino, and Melky Cabrera. Brice has been a starter his entire career, but this year the Marlins have moved him from rotation into a relief role. And that's where he finds himself here in the 8th inning in a 2-run game.
Another big arm, big young arm that come out of the Marlins bullpen. Mid to upper 90s fastball. What, just one right after the other. You got Ellington down there that throws 100. And Brice now. McGowan's throwing mid 90s.
Was in the rotation for Jacksonville and a 3.00 ERA in 13 starts. And a swing and a miss. How about that? The only guy to get Adam Eaton out is a guy making his Major League debut, Austin Brice.
A cutter slider here up and out of the strike zone, but Eaton finally fishes for a ball out of the strike zone, and hey, let's get that ball out of here. Just got his first Major League strikeout. For a reliever pitcher, kind of like your first Major League hit. You get the ball out of there and you'll save that for forever.
Edge to his left, whips it across in time and gets Saladino. So 2 outs, and here comes Melky Cabrera. When he was moved into the bullpen in Jacksonville, his ERA went down. 2.53 ERA in 14 appearances. Had just arrived in New Orleans and jumped into their bullpen when the Marlins called him up. So Andrew Cashner went 5, Dustin McGowan, Nick Wickren, Mike Dunn from there, and Brice has got 2 outs in the 8th.
.97 on that fastball.
I was going to say
too.
A pedestrian 97.
The arm strength you see now, especially in the bullpen. I remember playing against the Chicago White Sox in 2005, 2006. They had 4 guys in their bullpen throw over 95, and that was like unheard of at the time. And now I think everyone has 4 guys that throw over 95 out of their bullpen.
Maybe more than that. In
At
some
least
bullpens.
4, yeah, exactly.
And that's, look, that's one of the biggest changes in the game over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years, is the absolute jump in velocity. And many feel it's the reason behind the elbow issues, is that extreme velocity. People, we always get emails of people saying, how come pitchers can't pitch like they did in the old days, back in the 60s and 70s, when guys were throwing complete games and there was no pitch counts? It's because all those guys weren't throwing 96, 97. There wasn't that type of torque and that type of stress on the arm. There were a few guys that threw hard, but not the great number that does that now. Right field line, foul ball. How many 95-plus throwers were there when you broke in a average American League starting rotation? You broke in with the Royals.
I don't know if I can remember one. Actually, I faced Nolan Ryan when I first got called up, and he was still throwing 95 miles an hour at 42 years old. But after that, there just weren't that many guys threw that hard.
How about Austin Bryce, huh? 1-2-3 inning in his major league debut. Marlins and White Sox. We start at 6:30. South Florida Honda dealers get you ready with Marlins Live. I would like to hear Chris Sale's impression of Adam Conley and Adam Conley's impression of Chris Sale after they see each other. They don't face each other. I'll have to ask Conley probably on the plane flight to Cincinnati. Maybe get to Sale post-game tomorrow.
What do you say? Do they sound alike, or?
No, they had their deliveries. I mean, that's Conley's delivery. Everyone says he looks like a junior Chris Sale. Oh. 0-2. Pitch is in to Christian Yelich. This has been a rough ride for Yelich. You don't see that very often. 3 strikeouts in the book. All of that against the lefty Carlos Rodon. And Yelich swings and misses and strikes out for the 4th time. Our baseball historian is John Chimchuk, and right now I'm sure he's researching how many 4 strikeout games Christian Yelich has. It's amazing.
I mean, that was quick.
That was quick. That's only the 2nd.
It's like out of thin air.
He's like the
It
magic
appeared
man.
right in front of you.
Yeah, Yelich last year against the Mets. Stanton fouls it at the plate. This is Nate Jones again with the unique delivery.
Yeah, his arm doesn't go down like most pitchers does. He just brings it straight back right from the top and still throws 96 miles an hour. Most pitchers, you have the big drop down pendulum type action as they go back in their windup, and he just brings it straight on up.
But as you look at him, the one thing it comes straight back, but it's still hidden from the hitter.
Do a little waggle there at the top.
Unlike, say, a Chris Archer, who separates and keeps it out to the side. And Stanton went around. Nate Jones strikes out Yelich, strikes out Stanton.
Well, Nate Jones came into this game with a 196 averaged against. So he's doing some things right this year. You can see Giancarlo Stanton clearly went around on that ball.
David Robertson is the closer for the White Sox. Here's what it looks like coming at you. See, it kind of disappears and then reemerges.
A lot of people, you think about the perceived velocity and how well they hide the ball. Be interesting to talk to the Marlins hitters, see if they see the ball very well off of Jones.
Off the glove of Saladino, and he throws out Ozuna. And a 1-2-3-8 for the Fish to the night. 4-2 White Sox. Arrives, and so does Brian Ellington. MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game in HD on over 400 supported devices like that one and those. Any more supported devices? Visit MLB.TV for details. I could just imagine our director saying, hey, shoot supported devices. Brian Ellington.
Once again, we have another Marlins reliever that throws mid-90s. Jared Cozart told me that just before he got traded that Ellington hit 103 on the gun at a recent game in New Orleans. Whoa, that was close.
Todd Frazier on deck. You see the expression on Abreu's face. Frazier's going to wander back over towards the dugout and actually go down the steps.
That was scary.
Frazier is actually in the dugout right now. And Abreu fouls a pitch back. don't think I've ever seen that. I don't know that I've seen a hitter go back into the dugout.
I think he said, all right, I've seen enough of that. I'm not taking another chance.
I would be right there with him. 0-2. Just breaking ball, and a good one. And Abreu strikes out.
Yeah, Ellington's got closer type stuff. The lack of control with the breaking ball and occasional lapses with his fastball. If he can get it in the strike zone, man, this is electric stuff. See slow-mo of this slider. Just throws it so hard that it's tough to time the break on it.
Frazier pops it left field. Yelich approaches and makes the catch. David Robertson in the White Sox bullpen. He's 27 of 33 in save opportunities. He had a blown save on Wednesday night. He's blown 2 straight. J.B. Shuck.
There's that occasional out of the zone fastball from Ellington. It's almost that uncomfortable at bat. You just don't know when he's going to launch one of those, and it's coming at 99 miles an hour. We saw his first pitch against the Giants in that Monday game sail over JT Realmuto's head and tied up the game.
In the gap, Yelich there. Miami down to the last 3, down a couple. David Robertson coming in for the White Sox. 4-2 Chicago. Two White Sox. That is David Robertson. He is the closer for these Chicago White Sox. Robertson's numbers, 27 of 33. It's been a rough year for him. Now Miami has Realmuto, Rojas, and Echeverria. The Fish have already used Chris Johnson and Ichiro. Ichiro had a pinch hit double that helped the Marlins to get that second run in the 7th inning. So obviously the need is for base runners. Fish still have Derek Dietrich as a pinch hitting option here, and certainly he'll be the guy the Marlins would call upon. That pitcher spot is due up 4th in the inning. Robertson's fastball misses up and in.
Robertson has those curious numbers for a right-handed pitcher. He actually has about a 50-point higher averaged against by right-handers than he does left-handers.
Sort of a right-handed version of Adam Conley.
Yes. Right, he's hitting 267. Often lefty's just 211. And I'm going to say that's why that fastball looks like it's got a natural cut to it, a la Mariano Rivera. But that was more like a slider. So when you've got that cutting fastball coming into a left-handed hitter, that's a tough pitch to hit.
Robertson, originally a Yankee and an All-Star as a Yankee back in 2011.
There you go. I wonder if he learned that cut-it fastball from Mariano Rivera.
Yankee up until last year. White Sox signed him as a free agent. 39 saves for the Yankees in 2014. Check swing, ball in the dirt. Count full, 3-2. That's one of those balls as a hitter, you saw it squared away. He did kind of check his swing. But as soon as you start towards first, you're admitting you did swing, right?
Well, that's up to the umpire to call that strike very quickly so you can advance to first base if it's a pass ball.
That is strike 3 called. And Robertson gets the first out of the 9th. Craig Minervini looking awful lonely out there. Jeff Conine here in the booth tonight. Craig will be hosting Marlins Live. Look around the league. Carlos Rodon back in Miami, and what a nice homecoming for that young lefty. Rojas now. And Chavarria's on deck. That is Mariano-like, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Don't know if he was with the Yankees and had that kind of movement on his fastball. Don't see too many relievers, right-handed relievers, that's cut on the fastball like that.
Add in a good hook. The University of Alabama product. Who was a teammate of his current teammate Alex Avila at Alabama. And he's all Alabama because he went to Paul Bryant High School in Tuscaloosa.
There you go.
It's about as Alabama as you can get. 0-2. The mascot of Paul Bryant's High School in Tuscaloosa is the Stampede. Thought maybe it would be like the fedoras.
Yeah. I mean, how do you dress that mascot?
Just that checkered hat. Producer John Solser suggests a big herd of stampeding elephants in the Roll Tide, just like the Crimson Tide. Rojas with a count 1-2. Cutters and breaking balls right now. And that about a 50-footer. You'd love to get Dietrich to the plate. And Chavarria follows Rojas. And then the pitcher spot. Miami still with that 4-man bench. End of the bat. Abreu. And Miami down to their last out here in the 9th.
Look at Robertson's numbers overall. 4.13 ERA, which is pretty high for a closer, especially when he has 27 saves. But he's blown a few and given up 6 home runs. Trouble with walks, too. 25 walks in just 47 innings.
As I noted, he's blown his last 2 opportunities, but here he's nailed down the first 2 outs without many issues. Dietrich on deck, and Chavarria has walked twice tonight. The Marlins, over their last 3 ball games now, have scored just 4 runs. A 2-0 win over the Giants. A 1-0 loss to the Giants. Right now down 4-2 with 2 outs in the 9th.
If you go to the back end of that 14-inning game, they had 7 innings that they didn't score either.
And Ed Chavarria swings at a breaking ball in the dirt, dug out, and this one belongs to the White Sox. Well, Chicago lost last night, got in to Miami around 3:34 a.m. but they come out here on a Friday night and beat the home team 4-2, and they do it behind a guy that was raised as a youngster here in Miami, Carlos Rodon. 6 innings, just a run on 3 hits. Marlins baseball, Fox Sports Florida, is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica, and by your South Florida Honda dealers. 4-2 the final. Stick around. Marlins Live is next.